And welcome everybody to another edition of the GSMC Football Podcast brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm your host, Kenneth Gruenfelder, and it's great to have you guys here on this Monday. We have a lot to talk about on the show today. Before I get into that, I just want to remind you guys to tip or donate, get your comments recognized. Make sure to go to the following link. That is streamelements.com/gsmcsportsnetwork./tip. Again, that really helps the show, makes the show more interactive between myself, the host, and you, the viewer. Again, the following link, streamelements.com/gsmcsportsnetwork./tip. And as always, it is displayed on the ticker on the bottom of the show segment below. So, we got a lot to talk about on the show today. I hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving, a great holiday weekend. Definitely much deserved. It was a lot of fun this weekend. Obviously got to spend some time with family, watch the games, of course, enjoy some food. So that was great. Also had my turkey bowl with my friends on Saturday, and I am still dealing with that. Very sore from that. The most running that I've done in a long time. But it was a good day. It was a lot of fun, and it's nice to get everybody together. Because now with everybody working, it's tough to get everybody together. But we were able to do that. I mean, we were there from like 9:30 Eastern time to the afternoon basically. It was a fun day though. It was a fun day. Just still dealing with the after effects of doing that because I couldn't even get up yesterday. It just was I was just so sore. Everything hurts, and got a couple of scrapes too. But it was a lot of fun. It was worth it. It was definitely worth it. But yeah, I hope everybody had a great weekend. But we're back and got a lot to talk about today. So we're gonna start off the show by talking about the Eagles-Bills game from yesterday. That was the game of the day, game of the weekend. What a great game between these two teams. I did have a friend that went to that game. Unfortunately, he was a Bills fan, so he was on the losing end of that. But a great game nonetheless. Then we'll get into the Thanksgiving games, and then in the third part of the show, we'll go through the the rest of the weekend games. We'll talk about the Black Friday game, of course, between the Jets and the Dolphins, and how that went, and then we'll preview tonight's game between the Bears and the Vikings. So that's the rundown for the show today. So let's get right into talking about yesterday's game, not last night, between the Bills and the Eagles. So obviously the Bills, they had a dominating performance against the Jets the week before. They fired their offensive coordinator, Ken Dorsey, and even in this loss, though, the Bills' offense still, Josh Allen played really well in this game. Although I didn't realize, I mean, he went 29 of 51. That's, he threw the ball a lot. But what I will say is he was their leading rusher. And he ended up having 81 yards rushing on the ground, 2 rushing touchdowns in this game. He had 2 touchdowns throwing, and he also had a pick in this game. It was actually very costly. But the Bills the last couple weeks, their offense has looked good. It's definitely been better. Obviously, the turnovers with Josh Allen are still a problem, but I mean, you gotta like what you see at least, from the offense. But it was a tough loss for them. And listen, it looked like that the Bills were gonna win this game. They were up by 10 against the Eagles at one point, and it just looked like, the Eagles were going to suffer their second loss. I mean, they were down 10 points twice, excuse me, in this game, and the Eagles came back, and the game went to overtime, and the Eagles won it. So we'll kind of go through the drive summaries. So first 3 possessions. The Bills had 2. The Eagles had 1. They all punted. Then the Eagles went 10 plays, 73 yards, 5.5 minutes of time of possession down the field. And that was a Jalen Hurts rushing touchdown. So that put the Eagles up 7-0. Bills answered with a field goal. 11 plays, 45 yards, almost 5 minutes of time of possession. The Eagles opened up the second quarter. 2 plays, only 13 seconds. Jalen Hurts threw a pick. It got tipped up in the air and got picked off, and that led to a Bills touchdown. That was Josh Allen's first rushing touchdown of the game. So that put the Bills up 10-7. Next 3 possessions, again, Eagles had 2. The Bills had 1. They all punted. Bills then missed a field goal. Then the Eagles fumbled. So, and that was caused by Jalen Hurts fumbling the ball there. Still an issue with the Eagles. They're turning the ball over. Now, they're still winning games, so that's good. But that's something they still got to clean up. Because that could be an issue, down the line, and that could cost them. Especially if that happens in the playoffs. But yeah, so that led to another Bills touchdown. Josh Allen connected with Stephon Diggs for 13 yards. And that was in a tight window, and Allen fit it right in there. And, Diggs was able to score, cross the goal line. He was sitting down basically when he caught it. Well, I don't think he was sitting down, but he was right there when he caught it. 17-7 the score was. And that's what it was at the end of the first half. Eagles opened up the second half punting. Bills missed another field goal. The weather conditions were really bad. It was a monsoon out there. But, this game still ended up being 37-34. So, it didn't really impact the scoring here. So then the Eagles answered with a touchdown to make it 17-14. Hurts connected with A.J. Brown for a 3-yard touchdown. Yeah, A.J. Brown was pretty quiet in the first half, and same thing with Jalen Hurts, but then they really turned it on in the second half. Then the Bills answered with a touchdown of their own. Josh Allen, again, a 16-yard rushing touchdown. Listen, they got to run the ball with him more. Now, I'm not saying like how they done, these last couple of playoff runs. Like, you want to limit it a little bit, but you still got to make Allen take off with it, because that's part of his game, and that makes him so dynamic. And, that was a big factor in this game. That put them up by 10 again. Then the Eagles again answered with another touchdown, 7 plays, 75 yards. They went Hurts connected with Devontae Smith, who had a great game. So that made it 24-21. Then in the fourth quarter, Josh Allen throws a pick, and that was at their 29. And that's just that was a killer. And then the Eagles, 3 plays, 24 yards. Hurts connected with Olamide Zaccheaus for a 29-yard touchdown. Hurts scrambled out, and he, towards the sideline, he threw it up, and Zaccheaus made a great catch to put them up by 4. Then both teams punted, and then the Bills went 10 plays, 74 yards, over 5 minutes of time of possession. And Josh Allen connected with Gabe Davis to put them up 31-28. Then the Eagles got into field goal range. Well, at least Jake Elliott's field goal range. That's what I meant to say. And he kicked a 59-yard field goal to send this game to overtime. Josh Allen did get the ball first in overtime. They kicked a field goal. And on the 3rd down and 6 play, it looked like he had Gabe Davis wide open. Well, not wide open, but he was open. And there was miscommunication there. And it was incomplete. It would have been the game-winning touchdown, but they had to settle for a field goal. And then the Eagles went down the field, 9 plays, 75 yards, 3:15 of time of possession, and Jalen Hurts rushing touchdown from 12 yards out. And the Eagles got the win, 37-34. It was definitely the game of the weekend. It was an unbelievable game. I went over Josh Allen's stats, his rushing stats. The Bills ran the ball as a team for 173 yards. James Cook had 43. Latavius Murray had 30. Ty Johnson had 19. Gabe Davis had 105 yards receiving and a touchdown. Stephon Diggs had 74 yards receiving and a touchdown. James Cook had 57. Shakir had 47. Dolan Kincaid had 38. And on the Eagles side, Jalen Hurts went 18 of 31, 200 yards passing, 3 touchdowns and a pick. He had 2 rushing touchdowns. DeAndre Swift had 80 yards rushing. Hurts had 65 yards rushing. Devontae Smith had 106 yards receiving and a touchdown. A.J. Brown had 5 for 37. Olamide Zaccheaus' only reception was that 29-yard touchdown. But yeah, Eagles 37-34. They improved to 10-1. Bills dropped to 6-6, which is a big loss for them because, they're still trying to get themselves back in the playoff race, and they can't lose this game here. And unfortunately, that was the case. But a great game, but a controversial play in the game actually was, when the Eagles, tied the game at 34. A.J. Brown, it looked like he fumbled on that possession, and that would have ended the game. But they ruled the pass was incomplete, and he didn't make a football move. So they upheld it, but that could have ended the game. And people are complaining about the refs online. But yeah, I mean, it's a tough loss there. I mean, the Josh Allen pick was a killer. But I thought he did play. I thought he played well. So you at least got to like that the offense is moving in the right direction. I mean, they definitely have looked better the last couple of weeks. So, and actually, let's look at their schedule quickly here. So after this week, they have their bye. Then they take on Kansas City in Kansas City. That's going to be a tough game, but I think they can win it. They are home against the Cowboys, which is going to be tough. Then at the Chargers, which will be a tough game as well because the Chargers can put up points, although they didn't yesterday, and we'll get into that. Home against the Patriots, and then at the Dolphins. And right now, they are 1.5 games back of the third wild card. But I still think they have a shot. So, there's still some time, but they basically have to win out, which is going to be tough. But I think they could definitely, make a run if the offense plays like it has over the last couple weeks. But again, the Josh Allen turnover, I mean, that was a costly mistake there. So, we'll just have to we'll have to see what happens. But the Eagles, they continue to roll, and they play the 49ers next week at home, which is a rematch of the NFC Championship game from last year. And I cannot wait for that game. Hopefully, no big injuries from that game. Brock Purdy plays the whole game, and we see, how these teams really do stack up against each other. Because the 49ers, they've looked a lot better in recent weeks, so they're coming in hot. So I'm really looking forward to the game. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, that's pretty much it with this segment. We'll take our first break, and then when we come back, we will discuss the Thanksgiving games. We'll recap them. I'll give you my thoughts on those, and that is what we will do when we return from our first break of the show. So stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.